Baseball has never been an exact science. But the trade that the Cubs made to get Pete Crow-Armstrong from the Mets could go down as one of the greatest trades in franchise history. I want to talk about the Cubs fleecing the Mets for Hollywood Pete or PCA, the deal that went in there, the Mets thought process, and what he means to baseball and the Cubs. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hanging out with us on the Cubs baseball channel. I know I ask you guys that. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. If you were Cardinals fans, I'd be like, it's too many things to ask a fan to do. But you're Cubs fans. You get it. Let's get this show started. We're going to talk about Hollywood Pete. I'm fired up. Let's go. Hey, everybody, Mick Gillespie, Cubs baseball channel. Love talking the Cubs with you on a daily basis. You guys know I've told you a million times. I'm going to tell you again. Been a lifelong Cubs fan. They're my favorite team in any sport. And when the Cubs beat the White Sox and Pete Crow-Armstrong goes deep and Cade Horton kind of looks like he's about to be an ace and we're in first place, I'm happy. But I wanted to have a show today where we talked about the Mets trade of Pete Crow-Armstrong because it is an absolute blunder. The rest of the trades that the Cubs made at the deadline that year, they traded Anthony Rizzo to the Yankees. They traded Chris Bryant to the Giants. You know, they before that they traded Yu Darvish to Padres. I mean, they unloaded the team. But of the core guys and that 21 deadline, there's a lot of trades that aren't going to pan out. But Pete Crow-Armstrong, PCA, Hollywood Pete, I call him. He's coming into his own. He's the most electrifying player in baseball, or at least one of them. And it is so fun to watch. All right, let's start with the Mets. Because I found it interesting. I saw an interview with the Mets GM that made the trade. His name's Zach Scott. And this isn't a shot at Zach, okay? Because I get it, right? Let's kind of paint the picture here. July 30th, 2021, the Mets are 55-48. They got a 4-game lead in the NL East. They held on to that lead for 103 games. Or days that season. Then they ended up 77-85, and they missed a playoff and ended up third. The Braves came out of nowhere, right? Stunned everybody to win it all. And Javi Baez, it's not like he went there and didn't perform. I mean, he hit just a tick under 300. But he's only there for 47 games, and then the Mets didn't sign him, and he goes to the Tigers. The other guy that was a part of that deal was Trevor Williams, and he was actually better than Javi Baez, which is crazy. Williams was better. But when people saw Pete Crow-Armstrong and knew that he was available, I kept hearing from my sources that there were people inside the Cubs organization that just knew. They had been with the Mets, and they knew that this guy was special. So what Scott said, and was so honest too, he's talking, he's like, we were first place at the time. We wanted to add some impact to the lineup. Look, I get that. Javi Baez is still probably my favorite player. I say probably because it's him and Chris Bryant. Okay, so they're tied for first. So probably really just means that it's 1A and 1B. But I love both of those guys as players and everything else, right? So you got to give up something to get something. And the Cubs had a huge market for Baez at that point, right? But he said that he was in Boston before he was with the Mets. And he said that the people that scouted Hollywood Pete didn't think that he would be able to hit for power. So they took Nick Yorkie with the 17th pick, and the Mets took Pete Crow-Armstrong with the 19th pick. And he says, look, I had a bias there, right? He didn't think that Baez would be that Pete Crow-Armstrong would be able to hit. He said, love the defense, love the makeup, love the speed. Had no doubt that would be there, but didn't see this level of power. When we started this channel, we had a show called the MLB Baseball Scout Podcast with Tim Wilkin, who is one of the best scouts to ever scout. Scouting director for the Cubs, was with a bunch of teams. He's excellent. They don't come any better than him. He said, I would have liked to have had a different category for guys like Pete Crow-Armstrong. And I put Javi Baez in that same category, which is guys that just go out there and help you win, like that just have an instinct to win, that have a hunger to win. I didn't see Hollywood Pete as an amateur, but the minute I saw him, there was no doubt in my mind. And you guys can go back and watch. Go back and watch the short that I posted on this channel from 2023 when he got promoted from AA to AAA. I lay it all out because it was obvious to me. And I'm not a scout. I've just been around the game for a long time. But his wrists told me that he was going to hit for power. And that's what's happening. He's got the best wrists I've ever seen. And you hit with wrists. Like it's hand to eye coordination, right? But those guys that have those wrists that can get through the zone so fast are great hitters. And he's doing it. And he's making a difference. And we haven't talked about him as a potential MVP, right? We've talked about Kyle Tucker. But let me tell you something. At the end of yesterday's bludgeoning of the White Sox, which I loved it. They got off to the good start. They caught some breaks. And then the Cubs were like an anaconda and just sucked the life out of them. It's fantastic. And I think of that Pete Crow-Armstrong home run, which was, to me, was the defining point of the game. And when the game ended, you're talking about Pete Crow-Armstrong, who's got 11 home runs, 30 runs batted in, 13 stolen bases. He probably could walk a little more, right? 9 walks, 44 strikeouts. He's hitting .266. He's got a .306 on base percentage. Are these MVP numbers? Offensively, no. They're good numbers. But what makes him an MVP candidate is when you look at the entire game, right? He's got to walk more. The on-base percentage needs to get better. I'm not arguing with that. Maybe some more hits. But he's the best defender in baseball. I mean, he's like a ball hawk out there. These are the descriptions that you heard about young Willie Mays, where you tell the outfield, and I've said this before, you guys know this, tell the corner outfielders just to get out of my way. I got it. And then the way that he runs the bases. Look, it's not the steals, it's the reading the ball. It's taking the extra base. He's just starting to figure it out. And I love seeing it. The other question that I had is, can Hollywood Pete continue his success?
Season is a marathon and not a sprint. And that's great news for us because there's so many games to bet on. Don't miss a second of the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. From every game day until the champagne pops and the trophy is lifted, DraftKings Sportsbook has got you covered with same-game parlays, odds boosts, and so much more. There's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our code CBC. Cubs Baseball Channel, CBC. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers, use my promo code CBC and bet $5, just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code CBC, Cubs Baseball Channel, CBC only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
And again, we appreciate the gang at DraftKings. Our promo code is CBC, and $5 gets you $200 in bonus bets at CBC. So take advantage of that, guys, as we throw that up there. All right, let me put the last thing up because I know I had it up there for a second. Can Hollywood Pete continue his success? The defense is going to play. Defense doesn't go into a slump. That's true, right? The base running is only going to get better. He's fast, unless something happens and he gets injured. But he just has instincts on top of the speed. He's just got this innate ability to run the bases. The instincts. I absolutely love watching him do that. And it's not the 4 hits and the 6 RBIs that he had against the Stinky Sox. It's just this hawk-like eyesight that he has. And then it doesn't take a lot of time to process it. And when he was in the big leagues for the first time, it just seemed like he was always like hesitant. And then finally, I think that he just kind of got word like, hey, you just do you. We trust you. And now he's one of the best players in baseball. Can he continue his success? I think that he can. I really do. You got to be better at you got to walk more, right? I mean, that's just part of it because you can't. They're not going to give you pitches every time. Like, don't be afraid to walk. That's going to come with experience. Billy Williams told me that Rogers Hornsby said to him, "Know your strike zone." I think about that a lot when it comes to the game of baseball because you do need to know your strike zone. Like, that's it. Greg Maddux was telling us one night that when he was pitching at his brother's college in Nevada, that he would try to like an imaginary box, and he wanted to throw balls that looked like they were going to be that would be in that box and would be balls, and that would be out of that box and be strikes, like out in front of the plate, right? Which he was a master of. But it's the illusion, because as good hitters or great hitters, you're looking at it like, know your strike zone. Pete's got to know his strike zone. But the one thing that I can tell you about him, and the reason I loved Javi Baez too, and I still do, those two guys are so similar when it comes to the way they play the game. And it's crazy that they got traded for each other. They absolutely love being on great teams. Love it. They love winning. And even though they're flashy, and even though, look, El Mago does the El Mago stuff, and you think like, hey, this guy's all about him. You know, maybe you think that about Hollywood Pete. Maybe they play with that kind of passion. But those two guys love to win. You know why Javi Baez is back? Because the Tigers were winning without him, and he wanted to be a part of it. Now, I know part of it's that he's healthy. But when he was there at the beginning, it just didn't work. They stunk. They're good. They don't need him. But he gets in there, and he makes a difference now. And I'm pulling for them as long as they're not playing the Cubs because he's on the team. Pete Crow-Armstrong's the same way. He's upset with himself every time he doesn't perform, every time that he doesn't get a hit, every time that he gets thrown out, every time that he misses a ball. He's diving for balls that he can't catch, but in his mind, he just wants to see if he can do it. the guy plays the game with a different intensity. Both of those guys. Crazy that they were traded for each other. And Pete Crow-Armstrong told me that was his favorite player. His dad was a Cubs fan. He wasn't even a Cubs fan. He was a fan of players, and he was a fan of Javi Baez. And he's kind of our Javi Baez in his own way. So can he continue the success? Yes. But the last thing I'm going to say is this, is that having Kyle Tucker on the team makes everyone around him more confident. And baseball is a game of confidence. Look, you got to have technique. You got to know, you've got to be good enough. My dad used to say it's 90% mental. It's not. It's a lot mental, but you got to have the ability to do it, right? So I don't know what the percentage is, but this guy's passion, it's off the charts, and he makes this team so much better because him is one of the best players. When you're say you're Dansby Swanson, who's been honestly been great lately, but struggled so much. And you see this kid that's just going out there, balls to the wall. It makes you want to do that. But Kyle Tucker's that guy to me who gives everyone confidence knowing that, hey, we got this guy in the lineup. So if I don't get it done, he's going to get it done. And that's exciting stuff. So anyway, that's the show today. You guys tell me what you think. Get in the comments section. Do you think Pete Crow-Armstrong can really contend for the MVP? I mean, he's great defensively, runs the bases great. His offensive stats are pretty impressive. You put the whole package together and you're looking at it going, man, this guy can really do it. And if it's not this year, maybe it's next year. But it's awesome watching what he's doing. Anyway, all right, last thing I want to talk about today, I got to preview the game. 13-3 Cubs absolutely pound the White Sox. How about Cade Horton? Not his best, but you know what? 2-0 now in the big leagues. Congratulations to him. So we'll be back at it again. Early game at Wrigley. And the Cubs will go with Matthew Boyd, 3-2 record, 2.78 ERA. Man, he has been a great addition for the Cubs so far. White Sox will go with Sean Burke. This guy can pitch, still figuring it out, but 2-4 record, 4.15 ERA. I hate to say anything good about the White Sox, but I will tell you that they've got some really good young arms, and the direction that their franchise is going has gotten a lot better since they made those changes in the front office. So hopefully the Cubs take care of business. I like beating them, but you know what? Tip of the cap, man. Tip of the cap. All right. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. I know I'm not – am I supposed to ask you guys to do that? Most of you already have done that. But love you for being here. Enjoy first place another day. And I'll just say this real loud. I love that song, Go Cubs Go. I do. Go Cubs.